Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're cracking open the core ideas from Nick Trenton's book, The Art of Letting Go.
Yeah, specifically using a great summary we found via Insights for Us.
And it feels timely, doesn't it? We all deal with so much mental clutter, that sort of background noise.
Absolutely. Constant thoughts, emotional baggage we drag around, those knee-jerk reactions. It's easy to feel a bit trapped by it all.
Right. And for those of you who follow this area, letting go isn't exactly a new phrase, but this source, it lays out a really clear, practical framework.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal here, really, is to pull out the key insights, the actionable bits from this material, to understand how it suggests we can quiet that internal chaos.
And maybe finally break free from some of those loops we get stuck in.
Exactly.
So if you feel like you know about letting go, but you're ready to actually, practice it to feel a bit lighter, more present.
Then, yeah, this deep dive should be really helpful.
Okay, so where does the source start? What's the main idea here? Because letting go, it can sound a bit passive.
That's a great point, and the source tackles that head on. Letting go, as it's defined here, is very much an active thing.
Active how?
It's about consciously acknowledging what you genuinely cannot change or control. The past, what other people do, even those thoughts that just pop up.
Okay.
And then it's about deliberately releasing your internal resistance to it, your grip on it.
So it's not about pretending it didn't happen or doesn't matter.
No, not forgetting. It's more like freeing yourself from being weighed down by it.
Right, releasing its hold on you. That's a useful distinction.
Definitely. And the source unpacks this with a few core ideas. The
Okay.
first is kind of the why do we struggle so much? It points to overthinking.
Ah, yes, the overthinking trap. Our brains are sort of wired for vigilance, aren't they? Always scanning for potential problems.
Historically useful, maybe.
Sure, kept us safe. But now, that same wiring often just means endless rumination, replaying things, worrying about what might happen.
And the source suggests recognizing that this isn't some kind of personal failing. It's more like an old system stuck in overdrive.
Exactly. And the skill then is catching those thought loops earlier.
Yeah, before they spiral.
Hmm.
Redirecting that energy maybe towards clarity or just being present instead of just churning.
Which leads nicely into the next big insight from the material, maybe the most powerful one. You are not your thoughts.
This one's huge. The source really emphasizes this. Your brain produces thoughts. I messed up or they're judging me, but these are just signals, events in the mind.
Right. They aren't fundamental truths about who you are.
So the practice, according to the source, is what? Creating space.
Exactly. Cultivating some distance, maybe using mindfulness or even just mentally saying, there's a thought about failing, labeling it.
Just noticing it without automatically identifying with it.
Yes. And in that space, that distance, well, that's where the freedom lies. You get to choose how to respond rather than being swept away.
Okay, so that covers thoughts. What about emotions? They feel just as powerful, sometimes more so. How does the source suggest handling those?
It talks about emotions needing motion, like energy that needs to move, not be suppressed or bottled up.
Because that just creates stress, right? Blockages.
Pretty much. So the source encourages healthy processing, which means allowing yourself to actually feel the emotion when it comes up.
Maybe naming it. Like, okay, this
Yeah.
is frustration or this feels like sadness.
Yeah, identifying it can help, and then letting it flow through you. Instead of getting stuck analyzing why you feel it or trying to push it down immediately.
It sounds like it requires, well, consistent effort.
Absolutely. And that's another core point the source makes. Letting go is a skill, something you develop through practice, not a one-time decision.
Right, it's not like flipping a switch and suddenly you've let go.
No, it's more like a daily commitment. Making conscious choices, like choosing calm instead of trying to control everything, or choosing progress, even tiny steps, instead of waiting for perfection.
That's how you gradually lighten that load you're carrying.
Mm-hmm. And the source does mention practical tools for this, things like breathwork, maybe journaling, reframing how you see things, simple mindset shifts.
It highlights that often the simple, consistent actions are what really help reset that overdrive we talked about.
Yeah, and it's interesting how these ideas connect, isn't it? Understanding, overthinking, separating from thoughts, allowing emotions, using tools. They all build that core skill.
So pulling this all together for you listening,
Yeah.
this isn't just about feeling a bit less stressed day to day, is it? There's a bigger picture here presented in the source.
I think so. If we look at the overall message, it seems to be aiming for a real sense of emotional freedom.
Freedom from what?
From being anchored to the past or constantly anxious about the future. So you can actually show up more fully, more authentically in your life right now?
It sounds like giving yourself permission.
Yeah.
Permission to just...
Yeah. Yeah. There's a quote the summary highlights, which puts it beautifully. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to not have it all figured out.
Simple, but quite profound, isn't it?
Very.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into the insights from Nick Trenton's Art of Letting Go, the key takeaway is that letting go is an active skill.
Mm-hmm. Focused on releasing that internal grip on things genuinely outside your control, those thoughts, those emotions.
We touched on the source's view of overthinking as a kind of outdated habit,
The vital idea that you are not your thought.
the importance of letting emotions move through you.
That it's all a daily practice,
This thing,
supported
a
by...
pretty direct call to action.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Listen now. Share with friends and family.
Right. They're actively asking for engagement, and word of mouth shows confidence in the content, maybe.
Or at least a strong desire to grow their audience. But it ties back to that idea of sharing impactful stories, things people might actually talk about.
Makes sense. They believe the stories are worth sharing, worth discussing.
Okay, so let's just quickly wrap up the key points. We've got the podcast insights for us.
Hosted by David and Deb Aloba, written by Ola Aloba.
Available on Spotify and YouTube.
And the main goal is sharing stories that challenge, inspire, and stir something within you.
With a recent copyright suggesting it's current, and a call to share it if you like it.
Seems like a fair summary. It positions itself clearly as a source of, well, thought-provoking and hopefully moving content.
Yeah, so for you listening, considering that aim to challenge, inspire, stir, what kinds of stories, what perspectives actually do that for you? When you're browsing Spotify or YouTube, what makes you stop and listen?
That's a great question to ponder. What really grabs your attention in that huge sea of content out there? Something to think about.